Welcome to The Woolly Way, a podcast specifically for dairy shepherds. That is, folks wanting to raise sheep for the purpose of harvesting milk. We cover all the things pertaining to raising dairy sheep here, be it animal nutrition, housing, healthcare, lambing tips, cheese making, and even some butchery and fiber arts. After all, if you raise dairy sheep, you are going to have wool, and if your operation is successful, you'll eventually have surplus lambs to decide what to do with. Ethical animal husbandry is the focus here, as well as sustainable agriculture. We want to provide you with the information you need to start and continue your dairy sheep operation in the best way possible for you, your sheep, and this amazing world we live in. So grab a nice cup of sheep milk and let's dive in.
Welcome back to The Woolly Way. Today we have Tiffany Hartung, and I am really excited about her interview today. She has both dairy cows and a heritage breed sheep that she milks, and she makes cheeses out of both of them. And I've mentioned it before, I am a novice cheesemaker, so still learning the ins and outs and ups and downs of just how does one use a cheese press actually. So super excited to have you on the podcast, Tiffany.
Thank you, Rachel. It's fun to be here. So my name's Tiffany, and I have been raising cows and sheep for, I think, 5 years now, so not a super long time. We came here to northern Michigan. We moved from Walla Walla, Washington, and we were looking for more land because we wanted to do more homesteading. And we chose the Jacob sheep, not for any particular reason. We got really lucky getting healthy sheep off of Craigslist. Animals that were, I know.
You're like the fifth person that has started your shepherding journey off of Craigslist. It just cracks me up. So go ahead.
It's terrible though, because you hear horror stories, where you get animals that are sick, they're diseased, they die randomly, and you don't know why. You're a newbie, and so we got really lucky with getting our sheep off of Craigslist, and since then we've gotten to know the Jacob breed, quite a bit more, and we have a breeder downstate that we buy breeding stock from now. So and then with our cows, we also got lucky on Craigslist with a really nice Jersey cow. She doesn't do awesome on grass alone. She definitely needs grain in order to keep condition. But as far as her, she tested free of diseases and stuff like that. We were, again, very fortunate. And then we have the milking Devons, which they were historically milked, but are now raised primarily for beef. But I liked the fact that they were a triple purpose breed. I like the idea of animals that are hardy and tough and can thrive in, not perfect conditions, because we don't have perfect conditions. We don't have a perfect pasture. We don't have perfect grass. We're still working on that. It's going to take years and years and years and years and years before we, I think, are going to be really happy. So, those are the three breeds that we raise for the two cows and then our sheep. And we have a little farm in the forest in northern Michigan, and we're just kind of doing our thing. We love having people come by and visit. If you're ever in the area, we'd love to have you. I've
actually never been to Michigan, and I'm getting more and more friends there through Instagram and shepherding. It's kind of funny. So I would like to come visit because I've heard it's beautiful. I just haven't ever had an opportunity to get up there. So I do have a friend who has some dairy sheep, and she's like, do you want a ram? You could come visit and it'd be a business expense. And I'm like, that's kind of how to get me hooked, is you offer a sheep as a bribe and I'll come visit you then. And you bring up an interesting point too, which I don't want to get too much into right now, but just the grass-fed ideal. And, I think we can all recognize that there's definitely reasons why that is the ideal. I mean, it is a healthier product. It's healthier for the animals, if you have healthy pasture and healthy soil. And I am in, the Appalachian foothills where we have no topsoil. Our property was hayfield, and we have very endophyte riddled fescue all over our pastures. And at this point, when we try to do grass-fed only, our animals are either suffering or they just die. And so we've learned that, we're reseeding the pastures. We're kind of getting more focused on rehabbing our buffet out there. But in the meantime, it's okay to give your animals grain. Just understand the process of that, like understand their rumens and sourcing good food, and not just going to farm Walmart and grabbing a sack of corn and soy. So
Right. Yeah, we're fortunate to have at least non-GMO grain that we can give to our animals. There's a farm that's hours and hours away that they grow the grain. It's certified organic. It's also super expensive, and they said it's quite a drive, like a 4-hour drive to get there. And for the amount of feed that we would be wanting to get at one time, like I feel like we would need a semi-trailer to load it all because of just the length of time it would take to get there and get the feed and haul it back.
Right.
Time
Well,
is precious.
yeah, I mean, we were feeding our chickens organic feed for a while because our customers wanted organic. And we were never breaking even, let alone making a profit. Like, we were getting more and more in debt. And, now we've actually moved out of chickens into quail. So we do source a feed, but I've now learned to start soaking it in whey and doing like these tips where you're cutting corners, and you just, again, idealism is a wonderful motivator and it's a definite goal, but then you have to actually, at the end of the day, push the pencil and crunch the numbers and see,
Right.
can I actually do this if I'm doing nothing but idealism, or do I need to actually face reality and go, I don't have a semi, I don't have a way to store all this organic feed, so I'll get smaller amounts closer and manage that.
Right. Yep. Pretty much doing what you got to do. And people too don't realize that, when you are feeding those more pricey grains, the certified organic grains, you're going to see the price and the end product, and compared to the grocery store, it's quite a hike up there in price.
Right.
We live in a pretty low income area, and when I charge, I'm sure there will be people who are laughing, I only charge $5 a dozen for eggs. And just a couple years, $5 a dozen for eggs for most people was expensive.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
I didn't have any customers.
Right.
Yes. And I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. Like, this is terrible. I don't want to make people feel like, but I also need to make some sort of a profit. I'm feeding these animals. I'm taking the time. I'm trying to turn this into a tiny little business, and that sort of. But now with the whole egg situation in America, it's like everybody's knocking down my door for eggs. I'm like, oh,
$5 a dozen is a steal. You're practically giving them away.
Yeah.
We were in the same boat. I was charging $6 a dozen for my eggs, and prior to 2020, it was like, oh, you think you're going to get rich off eggs? And I was like, I really don't think I'm going to get rich off eggs, but thank you for sharing your opinion. So, okay,
Right.
well, I try to sprinkle the whole grass grain discussion throughout most of my episodes, just because for new shepherds, for new dairy maids or whatever, it is, for me, it's stressful, because you're trying to find good sources of information. You want to do the best you can with these animals. And it's like, no matter which way you pick, you're going to get called an animal abuser on social media, which is where a lot of us turn to for mentorship. And so I want to encourage the conversation of, a dead animal who's starved to death is not going to give you milk. So if your animals need groceries, give them groceries, but educate yourself on how to do that well. And, we have goals, but the people who are boasting about, this is 100% grass-fed and 100% chemical-free, 100%, they didn't just wake up one day and move from the inner city and then plug some animals in a pasture somewhere and voila, they have this amazing product. Like, it takes time and patience and education to produce such a high-end product. And then, like you said, you have to find a market so someone pays you for all the hard work you've done. And if you just don't have it, then you need to know what your goals are. So anyway, thank you for indulging me on that. So, okay, so you are You have like the most beautiful cheese cave I think I've ever seen on social media.
Thanks.
So,
Well,
so, so is your
it's
primary product cheese, or what are you mainly producing at this time for product?
so we do herd shares with our cows.
Mm-hmm.
So I shouldn't say I sell, I share, cross out that word. I
Right.
share a milk with people in our community, people who go to our church.
Mm-hmm.
So there's fluid milk that's coming and going. And I try to make, I have 2 designated cheese making days every week where I'm using the cow milk to make cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And I try and just kind of like bulk it up so people are picking up on certain days. And then I have my 2 days, because it takes the same amount of time
Mm-hmm.
to turn 8 gallons of milk into cheese as it is to turn 2 gallons of milk into cheese. So obviously I want to get the most bang for my buck there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, So Tuesdays and Thursdays are typically my cheese making days for the cow milk. So about two big wheels a week. And then they go into the cheese cave and age for whatever their period of time is for maturation. And then with the sheep right now, we're only getting a half a gallon of milk a day from the 4. They each give a pint.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice milk though, as you know, those heritage sheep, it's more fatty.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're gonna, I think I told you, get a East Frisian ewe lamb. I actually had the gal just email me this morning and let me know that we'll be able to pick her up at the end of this month. So I'm super excited about that because I really love the sheep cheeses. They are exquisite. I love cow.
Yeah.
I don't want to take the cows by any
Right.
means, but the quality of sheep milk with its protein and its fat content and the lipase
Yes.
in the lamb rennet, and then working with the fats in that milk, the flavors that you can get is just I, I can't say enough good things about it. So I'm really excited to be doing more with that. But
Yeah.
anyway, so the sheep milk I get to make cheeses with a few times a week if I don't freeze it for, larger cheese batches.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just do a lot of feta and the Bulgarian style fetas.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I do recently? Oh, a lactic style cheese. I was going to make like where what do they call it? Like a croton, like a goat croton, where it's a lactic style cheese and you're just ladling the soft curds into forms, and then allowing white molds to grow on the top
Mm-hmm.
and be like
Oh
a soft ripe type of cheese where there's what they call a deliquescence, where the right underneath the layer of the fungus, it's getting softer like a brie or something like
yeah.
that. I was going to start with this cheese, but in the end, I did a foolish thing and I added enough rennet for cow milk, which you only really need a quarter the amount for the sheep milk. So it turned out too firm. So I ended up just using my hands and making shapes with my hands.
Well, that's the kind of cheese too. Apparently, it's called handkas. So when
Yes.
you take curds, you just patty
You,
cake it, and it's called handkas, and you sound all whatever with it. And you're like, no, it's just the leftovers of stuff.
I
So
know I don't make it sound very special. I just squished it up with my hands, but it's going to taste really good and I'm so excited for it. So
yeah.
Hey guys, I just wanted to interrupt this real quick to give a shout out to our sponsor, the North American Dairy Sheep Association. NADSA is open to any sheep breed or cross used for milking. NADSA supports dairy shepherds and is elevating dairy standards in sheep in America. You can become a member by going to www.northamericadairysheep.org, or you can email the association at northamericadairsheep@gmail.com. I am so thankful to NADSA for sponsoring this podcast and helping me bring more resources to the dairy sheep community. Stay tuned for future podcast episodes where I talk to NADSA board members and the president about what NADSA is trying to accomplish in America for the dairy sheep community.
Yeah, no, I bought the Art of Clabber by Katya Lonioba. It just came out from my publisher, and the process of turning liquid milk into a solid food form is so simple, it's maddening, but there's so many different variations. It's also maddening. And I think that might be where the intimidation factor comes for people, because you can do it as simple as you leave it on your counter and it curdles, and then you strain that off and then like you said, you just squish it and it's cheese. Or you can, add rennet and cut the curds and stir them around and squish them and age them and all the kinds of things. Like there's so many options. I feel like it's overwhelming versus if it was, you know, like a lamb chop, like you brown it on both sides, you salt it, you add butter, you eat, the end. Like it's a little bit more simple with the meat than it is the milk. So,
Of course.
so yeah, so I guess let's touch on what you just said with the rennet, because I on the dairy sheet boards, that's one of people's main frustration is all they can find are cow cheese recipes, and they just try to just substitute sheep milk for the cow milk in those recipes, and the result is not the ambrosia you were just describing. It's the texture's wrong, the flavor's wrong. And so can you describe a little bit, why that might be?
Well, with the sheep milk, I'm guessing, I honestly don't know
Mm-hmm.
what the answer to your question. I know that it's some special sheep magic, um, right? It doesn't do what it's supposed to do, like with the cow milk recipes for cheese. But yeah, you need less rennet,
Mhm.
like half to a quarter of what those recipes are calling for. And the
Mhm.
curds, the texture of the curds are so different compared to cow curds. Like
Mhm.
the curds are very fragile when you put your hand in there.
Mhm.
You really have to, I mean, you do have to with the sheep too. Don't get me wrong, but there's like a density to them. They're thick and heavy and just completely different than the cow curds.
Mhm.
I think they hold their fat a lot better too after you cut the curds. I don't see as much cream coming out of them
Yeah.
as you do with like the cow curds. I guess just I don't know. They have a better way of holding themselves together after they're cut.
I've
It's
noticed
kind of
that too with my
yeah.
with my Jersey cow. When I make cheese, I can probably get, a pint to a quart of spilled proteins to make ricotta out of. And then with the sheep whey, I mean, there's like a thin layer on top, but that's it. Like it's not really worth doing anything with because there's just not a lot of leftovers in the whey.
Right. Well, you're making me think about that some more too. As far as like, I think because the fat globules in the sheep milk are smaller, so
Mhm.
when the cream isn't going to rise in
Right.
your sheep milk the same way that it's going to rise in your cow milk. So
Mhm.
that's the importance of like when you're working with the cow milk and making cheese. Like when you add the rennet, you want to make sure your milk is really well stirred up, so that
Mhm.
way that cream layer isn't up there because the cream isn't actually going to react with the rennet and turn into a curd. It has to be incorporated into the rest of the milk in
Mhm.
order for form its special little matrix with the cream
Mhm.
inside. But with the sheep milk, because those globules are smaller, I think they stick more inside of the curd, and there's less, I think, fat loss. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but that's just been my experience so far.
Well, I
In
mean, that's a really good observation. And unfortunately, where we are in America today is just we have our observations to go off because there's not like, yeah, there's
yeah,
no sheep cheese experts currently that we can turn to. It's just you, me, and one other person, I think. So,
right. Just playing with our milk and writing down, hopefully, taking notes and making it better the next time for sure.
right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. So with the cows, so you have the Jersey and then you have the milking Devons. So what's the production per day with those two cow breeds, and what's the cream like with those two?
So the milking Devons have a little bit less than our Jersey as far as cream goes,
Oh, really?
but their milk, I think, has higher protein because I get more yield out of my cheese pot when I use the Devon milk
Okay.
in addition to the Jersey milk, as if I were only using the Jersey milk alone,
Mhm.
um, I don't get as much yield. So I definitely think there's more protein in the Devon's milk.
Okay,
In
interesting. Okay.
yeah.
So I guess if you took a gallon, have you done just a gallon cheese before, or what's the ratio or the amount that you're using?
I mean, most of my cheeses I do like between 7 or 8 gallons at a time of milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then with your sheep cheese, are you doing 1 gallon per cheese making pot, or how much are you doing with that?
It's usually a gallon and a half because that's my 48-hour window.
Okay.
So that way the milk isn't more than 48 hours old. But I also have been blessed with the fortune of having access to raw goat's milk as well. And
Oh.
because I'm making a lot of feta and the Bulgarian style feta,
Hmm.
I will add the goat milk to it too and
Hmm.
work with it that way. So
Okay. Okay. Well,
I'll usually go
was
selling.
just curious if you could compare when you make a wheel of cow with the different breeds of cow versus the sheep, like what the whey results are, if I'm asking that question. Like if you took a gallon of your Jersey milk and a gallon of your Devon milk and a gallon of your sheep milk, how much cheese would you get off that gallon and how much whey would you have left over from that gallon of milk?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I I've never actually measured, but I can tell you just thinking about like the cow cheese that I made yesterday.
Hmm.
Um, I think it was a 7 gallon cheese. I was making a tome,
Hmm.
and I think it was out of the 7 gallons of milk, my cheese weighed at the end of the pressing last evening was 6 3/4 of a pound, and I think I got just under a 5 gallon bucket of whey for the pigs. Like,
Okay.
so maybe 4.5 gallons of whey
Okay.
off of that initial 7 gallons.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm trying to think. That's a tough question, Rachel, because I've never really paid super close attention. I
Yeah.
just dump it into the buckets and that
That's okay.
sort of thing.
If you haven't paid attention, that's fine. I just was curious because I know when I made a sheep milk tom and a cow milk tom, and we have a Jersey cow as well. And so I'd always, read you get more cheese per pound with the sheep cheese than the cow cheese.
But
And so when I had the two wheels side by side, there wasn't a huge visual discrepancy between the two wheels because they were both 2 gallon milk wheels. Um, but when like you held them, the sheep one was heavier than the cow cheese.
mm,
And then with the
interesting.
whey, there was no spilled protein in the sheep whey versus in the cow whey. Like the amounts were about the same in the gallon in the jugs that I poured the whey into, but the cow whey just had a ton of spilled protein in it and the sheep didn't. So um just for the again, this doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but it just is interesting to kind of compare, you know, how the
Uh,
products behave and what the waste products are too.
Right, definitely. And I think with the sheep, you definitely get more yield. Like I was telling you about how the Devons
Hmm.
cause my cheese yields to increase. I think
Hmm.
the addition of the sheep milk. I did do some sheep. It's I learned recently from a friend of mine. It's Hoda, not Gouda.
Oh, good
I,
to know.
I,
No one will know what we're talking about, but we're going to bring the correct pronunciation out. So,
I know it's terrible, because I feel like such an American. I'm sometimes ashamed to be an American when I don't say the cheese names properly. Like,
right.
my friend, she's from Belgium.
Oh.
Here she lives in Belgium. When I told her about Gouda, she's like laughing at me. So, yeah, I'm making a lot of Gouda. What?
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I like pronouncing things the way you're supposed to, but then like
No
I'll
one knows
say
what you're talking
Cheviot
about.
sheep and everyone's like, "What?" And I'm like, Cheviot." I'm like, "Oh, I know what you're talking about now." I'm like, "But that's not how you
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad we're on the same page with that
Yeah,
one. We got
nerds unite. It's all good.
someone to we got to help educate people
Exactly.
and embarrass ourselves in the meantime, evidently.
Yeah. Oh, fun times. Yeah.
But yeah, so last year I did do the addition of sheep milk to my cow milk, and I was making some sheep. I'm gonna just say Gouda, making sheep Goudas. I call it sheep Gouda because even though the majority of it was cow milk, I did use lamb rennet in order to increase the sheepy flavor
Okay.
because I had added sheep to it. And I do remember, having even more increased yield using the sheep milk with the cow milk at that time.
Okay.
I haven't done any milk mixing besides of the sheep and the goat milk this year,
Mhm.
mainly because we started milking our sheep a few weeks ago, and I'm just really pumped about making pure sheep cheeses and then mixing it with the goat milk that I get once a week. So
Yeah, for sure. The first week or two that our sheep are in milk, it's like it barely stays in the refrigerator because we're just so happy it's there. We're drinking it. We're, making big custards with it. We're, separating the cream and making beautiful lattes and stuff. And then after about 3 weeks, we're like, okay, what do we do with all this milk? So,
right.
um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's interesting because I just recently bought some lamb rennet as well, and so um I've made a sheep tom with calf rennet and then a sheep tom with lamb rennet. So I'm curious to compare um the differences because I just saw it on cheesemaking supply.com and I was like, oh, I'll just buy that and then it will be like completely sheep. And then was listening to another podcast called Cutting the Curd, and they were talking about how they specifically do not use sheep rennet. They specifically use calf rennet to keep the flavors more mellow. And
Right.
like, oh, well, this will be interesting to see which one we like more. So it's just so have you used the sheep rennet with just the sheep milk, or you've only done it with the combined milks?
No, I've done the lamb rennet with my sheep milk, and like I said, also done it with the mixed milk too. But it is definitely it's it's the lipase in that rennet. It gives it much more of a specific flavor.
Okay.
I actually watched something a year or two ago about how people, I think it was in France or something, some French cheesemaker interview I was watching, I think on YouTube, and he was talking about how he exports some of his cheeses to America,
Mm-hmm.
and because the American palate is, sort of offended by stronger flavors,
Yeah.
he uses calf rennet,
Uh-huh.
or he'll mix the rennet so it's not such a strong sheep flavor. But for his European buddies, everybody there in Europe who, enjoys stronger tasting cheeses, he just uses the lamb rennet. So it is definitely it is going to make a big difference, like for
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
in the finished product of your cheeses. I'll be so
Yeah.
interested to hear your take on when you do finally open those cheeses. You probably have some months to go yet on them, but
Yeah. I've got I'll put the link in the show notes for the audio, but for the YouTube people, this is my cheese making book right now. It's 200 Easy Homemade Cheese Recipes by Deborah Amron Boys. And so her tom for sheep is like you make it and then enjoy. But then her tom recipe for cow is you make it, you age it, and then you enjoy. And so I need to do some more homework on that, or email Miss Amron Boys and be like, what? I thought you had to age toms, but like I said, I'm a very novice cheesemaker, so I don't know that much about the actual cheese making. I'm a great shepherdess and I get really healthy lambs and great milk, but the cheese making I'm very, very much an infant. So
well, that's fine. We all started there at one point, because unfortunately that's just not information that's, passed down to us anymore.
right.
So
Yeah, which is I feel like we're bringing it back, like with stuff like this. We're slowly bringing it back. And it's interesting you talked about the flavor too, because I remember when we first started our health journey, we realized that gluten and bread and us were not the best of friends. And so, which was really heartbreaking because we lived in Louisville at the time and there was a Bosnian bakery where they baked the bread fresh every day. And like no one spoke English and they had coffee and it was just delightful. And then we're like, oh, we can't eat that for a minute while we let our guts heal. And so then, then we slowly started integrating some grains back in and we were using like spelt or whole wheat or einkorn or something like that. And so we were like, okay, I think we're healed enough where we can go. We were visiting Louisville. I'm like, let's go to that bakery and try their bread. And, they were bakers from a different country, but they were using American ingredients, right? So they're just bulk buying whatever flour is in the store. And so we bought this loaf of bread and we tried it and we were just heartbroken because we were like, there's no flavor. Like it's so bland because they were just using, conventional grains and conventional, enriched white flour. And it was just it was just kind of interesting because we weren't trying to ruin our appreciation of normal ingredients, but when you move away from conventional sad diet stuff and embrace more traditional foods and traditional flavors, like your preferences will actually adjust. Like if you try a lamb rennet cheese is where I'm trying to get to. Like if you try these cheeses and you go, wow, that is a super strong flavor. It's interesting to me when we just are like, we're going to do this and we're going to make it work. And if we don't like it at first, we're just going to keep eating it because that's what we have. And then eventually, you'll realize, oh, I actually prefer this to the milder, blander stuff. So,
right.
And so I'm telling myself because I've only had my own lamb and we have mutton now in the freezer. And so I'm like gearing myself up to dive into mutton baking this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, it's going to go great. Mutton, it's really unfortunate that it is not a food in people's diets anymore, that it's only lamb, right? Because mutton is delicious. It is so good. And there's absolutely no reason why I don't think more people should be having it for sure. Like it's all over Europe. So I don't know why America is just so far behind the times that way.
There's a book called Much Ado About Mutton, and he addresses why mutton fell out of flavor and favor in the UK. But I don't know. I'm trying to find information on why dairy sheep were never a thing in America. I know there was a huge push with the cattle sheep wars in the Southwest. Mm-hmm. Like that's why shepherding just has not been in vogue in the United States. But I'm not sure why dairy sheep specifically haven't caught on. But I also don't know why mutton has this such like a negative connotation, because like my grandparents were going to come visit and I said, oh, we had butchered a lamb. So I mean, young mild flavor. I said, would you like to try some of our lamb chops? And my grandma we don't like mutton. And I was like, when's the last time you had mutton, Grandma? And she was like, oh, well, when we went and visited Europe in the 1970s. And I'm like, well, first of all,
oh goodness, that's
like 45 years ago, Grandma. I think you may not be remembering the right thing, but secondly, I digress. But it was just instantaneous, like, no, mutton's bad. And I was like, well, but it's not mutton, it's lamb. And she's like, well, the same thing. It's I don't eat that. And I was like, okay, well, we'll go to Chick-fil-A, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. That's funny. My grandma's the same way about farm products in general. She'll eat them. Yeah. But first she'll make a face like, oh, is this fresh sour cream? Did you make this sour cream? Yeah, Grandma, I made the sour cream. All right, I'll have a little. I think she's just trying to be dramatic a little bit.
Right.
But she always talks about like farm eggs. She's like, do you know what those chickens walk through? I'm like, yeah, I do. And I am totally okay with it. And I know what they scratch through. And I don't know what to say, Grandma. Like, that's just the farm. She grew up on a farm and she saw all of it firsthand. But I think there was a lot of attraction, for people to be leaving farms. It wasn't popular to be a farmer as cities springing up at the beginning. Well, gosh, it's been a long time. I was going to say it's not the beginning of anything. It's been going on for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I heard someone say when times are good, people leave the country and go into the city. And then when times are bad, people leave the city to flee the country because then they know there's food stable. So, when we talked about getting our homestead, I mean, both sets of our grandparents were just devastated because they're like, we worked hard to put your parents in college, so none of you had to do this. Yeah. And, all our parents are just like, they're like, but why are you doing this? And, for me, I have to bite my tongue. So I'm like, because I don't want to be sick like you. But they don't listen to this podcast, so I can say that. But yeah, I mean, it's just they don't get it. Like, why would you work that hard for something you can just get at the grocery store? And it's like, well, but you can't get this quality of food at the grocery store. Like, even if I'm getting sheep cheese from a cheese bar at a grocery store, it's still not going to be the same because it had to travel so many thousands of miles, and the flavor is just not going to be there. So
yeah, it's totally true. farm food is just light years better than the grocery store food, the quality, and you know the animals, you know where the food came from, you know what those animals were eating, what they weren't eating. You
Mhm.
pet them maybe, you know, like
Mhm.
there's so many reasons why I think farm food is just
It's
better.
just
Tastes
yeah.
better, fresher,
Mhm.
flavors are more, I think, what they're supposed to be. Like I can't even imagine drinking store-bought milk at this point in my life ever again. I think I would be so sad.
I remember when I was first trying to figure out some female issues, and my mom was like, "Well, try that, that red box organic cow stuff at the grocery store that at the time it was like 5 times more expensive than the regular milk." And I tried it and I was like, "Oh, this feels like so healthy and happy and whole and flavorsome." And so now, you know, 20 years later, aging myself a little bit, that we have a cow and I'm drinking her milk that is like fresh from the udder. It's less than 24 hours old. When I was out of town this weekend, the people I was staying with, they had that red box organic cow cream. And I was like, okay, I'll just use that and put it in my tea. And I tried my tea and I was like,
Ooh,
something's wrong. Like, what? And
wow.
they had raw local honey. Like I used the same tea bags. It was just the milk. And I was like, it didn't taste like rotten or anything. Like I remembered, okay, this is kind of that pasteurized cream flavor that you get. But I was like, this cow was sad. Like this was not a happy cow. Like this and it's old milk. Like you can tell it's old. So it was just kind of interesting for me. Again, that whole thing where you change things dramatically and you just get used to it, and then you go back to the old ways of you eating, and then you're like,
Mm,
oh, I was eating sadness all the time.
I
Uh,
know, I know. And isn't that terrible? I feel like Americans in particular, we are so used to eating these really bland foods that
yeah.
have no flavor because, like you said, the cow was sad
Mhm.
or, whatever. Like there's just no depth to the food. Like I've been to people's homes where they're cooking food that's come from the grocery store, meats, cheeses, vegetables, fruits,
Mhm.
and I can taste the difference. I can
Yeah.
taste the difference. Like it's actually shocking. I've had pork in the last couple of years that someone got, I think it was even from Whole Foods.
Yeah.
I'm not saying by any means is Whole Foods some super awesome place. They got a lot of
No, but
issues.
I mean, like, they kind of brag that they're the
They do.
next best thing from Joel
Yeah.
Salatin's farm kind of thing, so which is debatable, but anyway.
Right. Yeah. Well, the pork was actually, I could taste the lactic acid of stress in the pork. I was shocked. I was like, this is something I've read about like from
Yeah.
time to time from, people, the Brandon Sheard and
Yeah.
his wife, like talking about
Yeah.
uh that you can taste when an animal is stressed when they die. Like, oh my gosh, I could taste that this came from a sad pig. Like this animal did not have a happy life. And it's just
Mhm.
shocking. Like people eat that
Yeah.
and like, oh yum, a pork chop. This is so delicious, so good. I'm like, I can't eat this. This doesn't
Yeah.
taste right to me. Like it doesn't taste bad. It's not like spoiled, but it's something's
Right.
wrong.
Something
Something's
yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think we could probably go on this for an entire podcast episode and just be like, "America, please wake up. Like, please, we're begging you." But want to know more about dairy sheep? Did you know that I write books on the topic? There is my big book, which is published by Sawdust Publishing and is available on my website or Amazon and sawdustpublishing.com. In this volume, The Guide to Homestead Dairy Sheep, you will find everything I wished I knew when I first started raising dairy sheep. I feature other dairy shepherds and go into detail on topics like different breeds for milking, parasite management, milk sharing with lambs, how to set your flock up for the best lambing and therefore milking season possible, and I briefly discuss digestion and nutrition of sheep. Since writing this book, folks have asked me questions about more nuanced topics, so I have begun writing ebooks that are topic specific that you can purchase on my website and receive as an instant download and print at your convenience. Currently, we have Bringing Your New Sheep Home, which explains in detail our step-by-step method of introducing new dairy sheep onto your homestead and getting them used to you as their shepherd.
Since there are currently no dairy-specific hair breed sheep available, dairy shepherds will have to shear their sheep annually and then decide what to do with their wool. Wool has a lot of misconceptions surrounding it, and I want to help shepherds understand that it is a commodity and not a burden. So I wrote my other ebook, 5 Uses of Wool on the Homestead, which is designed to give you practical ideas on how to utilize this amazing product around your homestead the second you shear it off your sheep. The ebooks are only available on my website at whoopsiedaisyfarm.com.
Were you starting off when you got these Jacob sheep from Craigslist, where you're like, oh, and I'll also milk them on the side? Like, was that, I mean, because you have 2 really good quality dairy cows. So what was your journey into sheep milk?
Well, I think I just kind of wanted to start doing it. I think I saw probably you and maybe a couple other people on Instagram with dairy sheep, and I was like, I have dairy sheep, but I do have these sheep, and they just had their lambs, so let's just do it. Let's go for it. And I had been making the cow cheeses for a few years, so I felt like I was just ready to try something new, I guess. And that was just last year when we began milking them. So, definitely still learning on that front, working with the sheep and milking them.
Yeah. So like, how did you figure out that you needed less rennet, for example, in the sheep milk versus the cow milk?
Just reading books. So yeah, I think in David Asher's book, The Art of Natural Cheesemaking, I think he touches on that, using less rennet for sheep milk. So
okay. So did you just, do your research, and then the sheep lambed, and you just held the lambs for 12 hours and threw them on a stanchion, or what was your process there? Is that pretty much you?
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of, but our sheep were very timid, and a few of them still are. But last year when we first began milking them, it was crazy.
A rodeo?
It was definitely a rodeo for sure. And it, like, at the end of the milking session, you're like sweating and overwhelmed and asking yourself, like, I don't know if this is really worth it. Like, this is so hard. But one of the things we figured out that was really helpful was just using a pair of hobbles on the back legs, so they can't kick so much. And when they kick with both legs at the same time, and they can't do the one leg up and try and knock your milk cup out of your hand while you're milking them, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I also noticed too, I don't know if you have any grand kickers in your flock, when you're milking them. I have one sheep who does like this karate chop thing with her legs, even with the hobbles on. Like, she'll do a handstand, but it helps the milk to come down. Like, she jiggles her own udder and gets the milk to come down when she does that. I know.
And you're like, you realize you're shooting yourself, like you are not accomplishing your goal here, sheep, but whatever, you do it. You do you.
Exactly. I always feel like it's such an accomplishment after she does that.
Yeah. Well, see, I had stalked enough people on social media before we started milking our sheep, and I'd seen enough people go, our ewe lambed, and we put her on the stanchion, and it's her first time ever being on the stanchion, and it's horrible, and we're miserable, and what do we do? And the response was always, oh, honey, no, you're supposed to train them before you start, before they're in milk. And so I, when I started off, I had bought 2 dairy crosses that were in milk, and then the rest of them were unbred ewes. And so I'd had a little bit of experience with, this is kind of what this looks like with the ones that were in milk, and they only milked for, I think, for like a month after we got them, and then they dried up. So the rest of that winter, spring, before everyone lambed, I just was working those ewes as often as I could, which that was back during lockdowns and before children. So I had a lot of spare time to do that nonsense with them. So with the feral Gulf Coast, I mean, I actually had to make a chute out of plywood, and to like, one of us had to chase behind them and then like knee this one particular ewe in the hind legs, or in the, the boo hiney, so she'd jump. And it's a good thing her fleece is amazing, and she makes the most gorgeous lambs, because her attitude, and still to this day, when I get on the stanchion, she will make sure she pees and poops after I have a first few squirts. Like I have to squirt 4 times, pull the milk bucket so she can let me know she's displeased, and then we can buckle down into it. So, and then I have another year where we joke she does the Mexican hat dance because she just like does this with her back legs when I first. So I just have to hang on to her udder and be like, Sabrina, you're getting this harvested, so just cooperate. So I mean, the milk is always worth it because, like you said, it's so creamy. It's like drinking half and half. But with these heritage breeds, man, you have to be fully confident in your stubbornness because if you're not, they're
stubborn. Stubborn. That's the key.
they're not gonna make it easy on you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're reminding me, I'd like to tell you about, we have a really great sheep this year. This is her second lactation, and she is a dream to milk. This sheep, she gets up on the stand, she just goes right up there and puts her head into the grain bucket. I don't have to coax her like the other sheep. I have to work with them and come on, it's okay, let's go. But she is just, her name is Bossy, and Bossy she is a queen. That girl gets up there, and as soon as you touch her udder, she squats. She's got the best letdown. She gives me more than a pint.
Huh.
I if I could get more of her, I'm going to keep her ewe lamb that she had this year because I'm hopeful that maybe that'll trickle on down the line to her lamb. But yeah, when you get a good one, it's like especially hang on tight.
Especially with those feral breeds where I mean, you don't know what kind of udder you're getting or what kind of teats you're getting or let down, and then when you find that one that's like is following the rules for dairy, you're just like, you are never ever leaving. None of your children are ever leaving. Like I am keeping you on this farm. So it'll be interesting when you start milking your East Frisian how that compares and what you think of the butterfat, because we've always milked our Gulf Coast along with the dairy crosses, and I've just mixed the milk in the milk pail, and that's what we thought sheep milk was. Well, our Gulf Coast ram last fall failed, and so we didn't get any Gulf Coast lambs or milk, and it's just been the dairy crosses. And when I first tried the sheep milk this spring, I was like, something's wrong. Like,
how interesting.
Yeah, I was like, it's thinner and kind of grassier and way more nuttier, and I'm like, are they vitamin deficient? And there weren't any other signs of issues or whatever. And then it was like, it hit me like a thunderclap. I was like, I don't have any Gulf Coast milk in there. It's just the dairy crosses. And, the Gulf Coast milk is higher in fat and, there's a different protein profile there. And so anyway, it was very interesting to have that comparison. So it still makes amazing cheese.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to more quantity for sure. So that way I can make, because I love sheep cheese. I really love it. And I'd love to do more hard cheeses. And you know that, have you tried any blue cheeses yet?
I haven't. We've had our fly plague for the year hit in the last week. So that's why I keep waving like a maniac, as I'm waving flies away. No, I haven't tried any blue cheeses yet. I mean, I have literally just made a couple of tomes, and then I've got Wensleydale in the cheese cave right now. So that's what I've done so far. So I'm going to do probably a Kashkaval sheep cheese next, which is kind of like an Eastern European cheddar style cheese. And then you can make Kashkaval with cow milk. So I don't know if I'm going to try to do a cow kash or just do a cheddar and compare those. So I'm since I have the option right now, I'm trying to make the cheeses in duets just so I can kind of compare the process and stuff, because I do get so many questions of, comparing cow to sheep. But I might do a blue cheese next. I don't have the right cultures for that, but have you made blue cheeses yet?
I have not with my sheep milk, but I want to start freezing some milk so I can get some quantity, because sheep cheeses are my favorite. Roquefort, French raw Roquefort's just so good. I can eat piles of them. And you can definitely tell it's made from the sheep milk too. It's rich and fatty and so creamy. I love cow blues also, but sheep blues, they're just special, just like all sheep cheeses.
Yeah.
So, and I should tell you too, I use clabber for all of my cultures, and
Oh.
with the blue cheeses that I have made, I just
Mhm.
take like a little pea-sized amount of a blue cheese that I have in my fridge that I bought from the store. I just get a little chunk of the blue veins and I
Oh.
mix it up in milk and then strain it out like I'm making a cup of tea, and I pour that blue milk water into my cheese pot, and that
Oh.
inoculates it with, and the flavor definitely goes through too. Like I used for a blue cheese last year a Stilton from the
Mhm.
store,
Mhm.
and my cow cheese tasted like that Stilton. Like you did, it definitely, whatever variety of blue that they
Mhm.
used,
Mhm.
it definitely gave my cheese that flavor also. So if
Okay.
you have cheese that you like, just use a little bit of the blue veins from that to
Okay.
inoculate. And
Okay. I will be
yeah.
honest, the extent of my blue cheese experience has been blue cheese at, I think, Soup Plantation on a salad bar when I was 7 years old living in California, and I did not like it one bit. So I might need to go back and revisit some of the blue cheeses just because I don't know that Soup Plantation was getting very high quality blue cheese for their cheese bubbles. So
Or yeah.
so all right. So you're getting your East Frisian. Do you have I mean, and you said you love the sheep cheeses. So do you have any like long-term plans for your flock, or you're just kind of riding this to see where it goes?
Oh, I'm riding it to see where it goes. I I have a friend who has been raising caracal sheep for almost 40 years,
Oh, wow.
and she, she's hinted to me a couple times that there's nobody else to take these genetics, and there's only 3 caracal breeders in Michigan, and who's going to carry on my legacy? And so I'm like, all right, who is going to carry on your legacy? Like, yeah,
You
you're
know,
my
Caracal
friend.
sheep are the dairy sheep of Bulgaria, I think. Like they're one of the main breeds in Bulgaria is the
Oh,
Caracals. So
well, and they're fat tails too.
they are.
So
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of people. I have a friend who is from Moldova, and he's just gone crazy. Like, you have to get the fat tail sheep. Oh, I'll teach you how to cook the fat tail and all this stuff. So there's definitely incentive for me to do that, and so that's what I mean when I say I'm just riding at the
Hmm.
wave and just seeing where it takes me. I would love to do like a spinner's flock eventually, to have like a bunch of different breeds that
Yeah.
could spin and knit
Mhm.
whatever I
Mhm.
wanted. And, oh, you want a coarse fleece? Perfect, I got this. And oh, you want a fine fleece? You got that. Like, I
I
think
kind
that would
of
be
have that in
really
my flock because I have Awasi and Icelandic genes and some of the dairy crosses, and then I have Tunis East Frisians, and then I have the Gulf Coast natives. So it's like I kind of have the full spectrum of
that's
fleeces.
nice.
And yeah, I'm this year I just dropped off a bunch of fleece to the mill for I had a one mill experience that was horrible, so this is the second mill I've tried. So I'm hopeful that this will be a good mill experience, and then I can start offering more variety. Because I mean, that's one thing too with sheep is that at least in my area, there's just such little appreciation for the wool. Like a lot of people are disappointed to find out that there's not hair breeds of milk sheep, and it's like you can milk a hair sheep. Like there's nothing that says you can't milk them. And I know someone here in Kentucky who has milked them for years and been very happy with the results. But, if you get a wool breed sheep, then you get the wool and you can play with it and it's just wonderful and delightful. And
Sure.
um so yeah. And did I ask how many acres you have? I think I totally forgot that.
That's okay. Yeah, we have 20 acres. Most of it is wooded.
Okay.
But the cool thing about sheep too versus cows is that sheep do just swimmingly well on places where cows could never go.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
they're eating weeds, they're eating trees, I
Yeah.
mean, I can put the pretty much anywhere and they'll be really happy. In fact, I notice that they're not as happy when I put them in grassy areas that don't have as many forbs and things like that. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, sheep are really, really great. I would totally recommend to anybody, like, if you have not enough acreage or your pasture isn't uh, up to snuff,
Mhm.
sheep are so the way to go, because you get the wool, you get the
Mhm.
milk, you get meat and you get the manure. Like, and
Yes.
you know too that you could use it as a little draft animal if you wanted to. So it's like that's
Yeah.
5 different things. Tell me what other animal gives all those things.
Yeah, it'd be quad if it was 4, so what's 5?
I know, exactly.
5.
Who even knows?
Yeah, I don't know. As sync no, that's not right. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, you can do so many things, and if they're horn sheep, I mean, there's a market for the horns and the skulls, and I mean, I've just started playing with hide tanning this year. I mean, it's like with how popular permaculture is, it's like, why are dairy sheep not more popular? So, or I mean, even just any sheep, like, you know, with the Jacobs, I mean, that the Jacob fleece is probably one of my favorites to hand spin. I mean, it's just, it feels coarse at first, but then once you've spun it and then once you knit it, it's like this magical alchemy happens, and it's a very nice, you know, soft garment. So,
Yep. Yeah.
I really just want to get 1,000 acres and have like 20 different breeds in just different sections and just you have a sheep sanctuary.
That sounds so nice. That sounds so good. I just love them. I really love the sheep and their personalities too, especially as you get to know them. They're really just such special animals.
Yeah.
And you know, I read somewhere recently too, like most of the world has small ruminants. Like cows are not like the main dairy animal all over
No.
the rest of the world. It's just in America. Like I think, you know, as far as our heritage goes, like we are coming from stock of people who use sheep and their milk.
Yeah.
Like so it
Yeah,
only really
my maiden name, Nearing, I looked it up, and the region of Poland where the surname Nearing is still in use is also famous for sheep smoked cheese.
wow. Oh,
So,
nice.
I mean, that was a Google search a couple years ago, so I don't know if that's, you know, the search engines will take me back to that information. But when I saw that, I was like, huh, well, maybe that's why I just have such a affinity for the sheep
Yeah.
cheese. So, um,
Yeah.
real quick before you go, because we are getting close to time, but now you do meat curing as well. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
So have you done much sheep curing or
No, not
no?
much sheep kicking.
Okay.
Just pork. I did do a the phenolar a few years ago,
Okay.
and it was okay. It was one of those things like I'm sure if I tried it again, I'd like it more because when I say a few years ago, this is also like at the beginning of my this is meat that I've raised and it
Yeah.
tastes different. You know, like the flavor was stronger, and you know the sheep flavor is more concentrated too when it's cured.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be willing to try it again, but so far I've just been enjoying my lamb legs.
Yeah.
In
The whole, yeah. I did A Pinch of Patience is on YouTube, and I tried her leg of lamb recipe to cure it, and it was phenomenal. But I think there's like red wine involved and some spices and stuff too. So I don't know if I did just if I would do a salt pack cure on the sheep leg, if I would appreciate that as much, just because like you said, it just condenses that sheep flavor so it's very strong. But when you pair it with like spices and wine, then it was this delightful melody of flavors. So anyway, I was just curious because you also post lovely charcuterie boards.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, you're reminding me. I actually did make one other thing with a lamb leg. It was a culatello, and I just I didn't use like the whole muscle. I'm not a professional butcher by any means. I learn more every single time I cut something up. I just took like whatever big muscle I found on the back leg that was like connected, and I think I used a recipe from the River Cottage or smoking handbook. That thing is a great reference.
Yeah,
I love it's given me so many great recipes and wonderful things to eat. But
yeah, the River Cottage book for the meat curing is my favorite by far because I bought several when I was getting into curing, and they all were like, you have to add the what are they called, sulfates to the cure. And I was like, but I don't. Yeah, nitrates or nitrate. You have to add a preservative to it, and I was like, I don't want to. And the River Cottage was like, if it's a whole muscle, you really just need salt, and then you can. Everything else is just for funsies. And so I was like, okay, you people tell me what to do.
Yes. Well, it's Americans being afraid. Everything's very hygienic and strict, and got to bleach every single time, and versus Britain. So,
the British are either so laid back it's alarming, or so very much not laid back. I'm like, what is your, like, there's no middle, like, we're the middle ground for the British people. It's kind of funny. So if you're British and listening, please don't be offended.
It's just our experience as Americans who live in strict hygienic. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Tiffany, this has been delightful. Thank you so much. Where can people find you if they would like to know more about you and your flock and all the lovely things you make?
So I'm on Instagram. My name is The Night Jar, all one word. And we also have a website, uncutroots.com. We don't really do a ton on our website, but we do have CSA vegetable shares available this year, and also some herd shares still available for cow milk. So,
okay, perfect. And one final question: if you had one piece of advice to give to new dairy shepherds, what would you tell them?
Persevere and be patient, and try not to let the hard days get to you. Just do your best to laugh off the tough times and go for it again the next day, because it's a learning experience for both you and your sheep, for sure. So
thanks so much for listening to the Woolly Way podcast. We hope you enjoyed our episode and have gleaned at least one tip you can implement in your flock right away. If you liked what you heard, please hit the subscribe button. And if you wouldn't mind, leave us a review. This helps others find our podcast so they can enjoy learning more about dairy sheep along with you. The Woolly Way podcast is a production of Whoopsie Daisy Farm. For updates and information about our show, follow us on Facebook or Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube and email list, and look us up at whoopsiedaisyfarm.com. Have a particular guest you'd like us to host or a topic you'd like us to cover? Fill out our contact form on our website or shoot us an email at whoopsiedaisyfarm@gmail.com. See you next time!